Good morning, everybody. This is Thelma. Today, I want to talk about something very interesting that I learned about recently myself. And that is the fact that there are three types of activities that we can be engaged in, that define our life, that define, that define who we are as individuals. And those three activities are: number one, legacy building activities; number two, wealth building activities; and number three, recreational activities. Having said that, stop for a moment and ask yourself, which of those three activities have you, for the most part of your life, which of those three activities have you spent the most time engaging in? It's something I've mentioned in one of my recent posts, and that's the fact that a lot of people, particularly here in America, statistics have shown that a lot of people spend a good 40 to 50% of their time on recreational activities. Now, there's nothing wrong with recreational activities, but if recreational activities is what you spend the majority of your time doing, then chances are you're not leaving any legacy behind, and neither are you indulging in any wealth building activities. So today I'm going to be talking with a focus on legacy building activities. What kind of activities are considered legacy building activities? This takes me back to something I talked about in the past, which is discovering or determining what your life purpose or what your definite purpose is in life, right? When you're able to find out what that thing is that you are passionate about, what that thing is that you have certain gifts around, or certain gifts, certain areas of strength in. When you are able to determine what that thing is, then you can transform that into legacy building activities. Recently, a friend of mine was talking about how he was in the process of writing a book with his kids, and his daughter asked him, "Daddy, is this a wealth building activity or a legacy building activity?" Which was fascinating to me, because a lot of people don't, a lot of us don't really teach our children those things, not because we don't want to, but because a lot of us don't really know about what the difference is, or even know that those things exist. So he said to her, because the purpose for the book was something that was going to impact lives and change lives. And so he said to his daughter, he said, "What we are doing right now is a legacy building activity, right? However, when we have finished writing this book and it's out there and it's selling and it starts to bring in money, then it becomes a wealth building activity at that point." So what does that tell you? For me, that told me that rather than focusing most of our attention just on how to build wealth, it would be more ideal for us to focus our energies and our time and our God-given gifts on legacy building activities, because in the long run, those legacy building activities have the potential to help to become wealth building activities. And so this, I don't know why, but this particular concept just reminded me about the story of the young rich man in the Bible. The Bible described him as a young rich man. His name was never really mentioned, at least to my knowledge. His name was never really mentioned. And the story was about this young man who went up to Jesus and said, "Master, what should I do, so that I can have everlasting life? What should I do?" And the master said, "Well, keep all the commandments." And he said he had the master listed all the different commandments: "Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery," and all of that. And the young man said he had kept all those commandments since his youth. What else? What particularly must he do to have everlasting life? And then Jesus said to him at that point, he said, "Go sell all your wealth. Go sell everything that you have and give the money to the poor, and then come and follow me." Now, I've heard that story said so many times before, but recently I heard that story again, and there was a message that came to me from that story. You guys know how I've always said, there's a spiritual mentor that I have, who there's a particular saying she has. She when she teaches, she's always saying, everything that is true in the physical is true in the spiritual. And at some point, I began to understand that concept also applies in the reverse. So what am I saying? Whatever is true in the spiritual is also true in the physical, in the physical. And so when when that story was talking about everlasting life, what came to my mind at that particular point was, everlasting life. When we think about everlasting life, we think more in the spiritual, having everlasting life after death, even after we are dead, and, going to heaven and all of those things for those who are Christians. And for some people who are more inclined towards other religions, they have different interpretation of that. But when I apply that principle of what is true in the spiritual is also true in the physical, that made me think that in that story, in that situation, was a lesson for us to learn that this young man who was very rich, because he was sad when the master told him to go sell all that he had and give the money to the poor and come and follow him. He was sad because the Bible said because he had so much wealth and he went away. Now, we never really got to know the story of that young man. And why is that important? Why is that significant? Because it occurred to me that one way this young man could have had everlasting life is by doing a legacy building activity, which was what Christ was asking him to do at that point. Notice that this was the same activity that all the disciples of Christ had done. They had left whatever they were doing. They had left their lives. They had left whatever they were doing behind and followed Christ. And today we all know the names of the disciples, some more than others, but we know the names of the disciple. But the Bible never told us what this young man's name was, which means the one activity that he could have done that could have become a legacy building activity, that could have made his life, his name live ever, it made him live live everlasting, an everlasting life here on earth. In other words, leaving a name with a legacy behind. The one activity, the one opportunity, he refused to do that thing, and we never got to know his name. So he failed to do a legacy building activity because he was so tied to performing just wealth building activities and perhaps the recreational opportunities that came from indulging in his wealth, but he refused to do wealth building activities. So my encouragement and my admonition to you guys today is, when you think about what you're doing with your life today, when you think about the things that you spend the most time doing, encouraging people, are you that person that, when you pass on from this world to the next, people will remember you for eternity? People will remember you for a long time to come. There's a lot of very unique, iconic people out there who have died and have been dead for centuries, and we still talk about them today. We talk about Thomas Edison, we talk about Napoleon Hill, we talk about Abraham Lincoln, we talk about people who have done great things, Mother Teresa. We talk about a lot of these people. In their life, while they were alive, they were engaged in legacy building activities, so that even now that they are dead and gone, not to say that we should discredit the life after death, everlasting life after death, but just here on earth, even now they still have life after death, because we still talk about them, we still reference them, we still talk about the great things that they did while they were alive. Are you engaged in doing legacy building activities right now? If not, my friend, then I admonish you to go sit down and reevaluate your life. If you look at your life and you feel that a greater percentage of your time is spent doing only recreational activities and less time spent doing legacy building or wealth building activities, then you need to rearrange your priorities. If you find that you spend more time doing just wealth building and recreational activities, then maybe you need to rearrange your priorities. But if you prioritize more on doing legacy building activities, then of course the wealth building activities will result from that. And then you can even balance it out with doing recreational activities. Sleeping is part of recreation. Engaging in pastimes that you enjoy, hobbies and things like that are part of recreation. But should we spend more time doing those things than doing things that will leave a legacy for our children, for our children's children, for the world that is going to come after us? As always, I love you guys. I hope somebody was able to learn something from the things that I've said today. Please share this video and this blog with your friends and family if you're able to learn something from it. And I look forward to hearing your feedback and your comments regarding the things I've talked about today. And of course, any other suggestions on any topics that you would like me to talk about. You have a wonderful day, and I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.